Hello, everyone, and welcome back to, I think this is part 5 now, isn't it? I believe so. Part 5 of C++ tutorials, or whatever you wanna call this. I hope you're learning something throughout watching these, and maybe practicing them on your own. That would really help you, I'd say, in the long run. But anyway, nonetheless, I hope you are enjoying them. Because I know I am making them. It's pretty fun. Today we're going to talk about if else statements or if statements. So what is an if statement? Well, I think it would be better to show you an example before talking about it. So let's say we have int a is equal to 2. And then we have an if statement. So if a is less than 5, we will cout a is less than 5. Okay. Else, if a is equal to 5, a is 5, whoops, meant to have a space there, else okay, a is greater than 5. Okay, so what did I do here? What is all this? So let's go from the very beginning. We have an integer a, which equals 2, right? And then we have an if, else if, and else. So let's look at if, and then in parentheses, a is less than 5. Well, is a less than 5? Well, yeah, because a is 2. So what happens is if it meets this requirement, it'll do whatever is in these brackets. Whenever you make an if-else statement, after you put if, or after you put else if, or after you put else, you have to put these brackets so it knows. Do whatever is written in these brackets. So a is 2, which is less than 5, so it is going to cout a is less than 5. And therefore, it's going to skip the rest of this, because we already did this. Let's say a was 5. Well, is a less than 5? No. So it's going to move to the else if. Okay. So a is equal to 5? Yeah. Therefore, we're going to do this. And by the way, when you're comparing a or whatever have you to something else, you use equal, not equals. Equals, as we see, just one equals is setting something to a value. But when you use equals, it's comparing them. It might sound a little confusing. At first, but you'll get the hang of it. So if you're comparing two things and you want to know are they equal to each other, use equals. Use two of them, not one. One just means you're setting that value to whatever's on the right. Okay, so keep that in mind. Else if a is equal to 5. Well, yeah. So we're not going to do this because it didn't meet this requirement. Instead, we're going to do what it did meet, which is a is equal to 5. So we're going to say a is 5. It's going to run this statement right here. Okay? So what's it going to do if a is not less than 5 and a is not equal to 5? So what if a is equal to 7? It's not going to meet this. It's not going to meet this. Therefore, else is like a catch-all. Else is saying, if this one doesn't meet it, and if this one doesn't meet it, then else will run it no matter what. If the previous ones were not met. Okay? So it's like a catch-all kind of. So it'll run cout a is greater than 5. And we'll go ahead and run this. And then you'll get to see. If it doesn't, there we go. A is greater than 5. Because it didn't meet this, therefore else is going to pick it up. Now we can have more than one else ifs. Else if A is equal to 6, perhaps. So cout A is 6. So what the program will do, let's make A 6 just so you'll see. So what the program will do will go from the beginning again. It starts at if, it says nope, nope, yes. Okay. So let's say it didn't meet this, and it didn't meet this. Then it would just go to else, because else takes anything else, really. So we'll run this, and it will say A is 6, because A is indeed equal to 6. There we go. So pretty simple. Mind you, if you put another if statement after this, if A is equal to 6, whenever something starts with another if statement, it's going to run this as well. So it's going to look at this as one entire conglomerate almost. But once you start with another if statement, it's like a whole other conglomerate. So you can have multiple if, and else statements. It's just going to start anew at the if statement if there's another one. For example, okay, so we have A equals 6, so it's going to run this one, and therefore it's done with this whole conglomerate. It can only run one of them in this whole conglomerate right here. But since we have another if statement, this is like a separate conglomerate. So it's still going to run that, and it's going to go down here, say, oh, there's another if statement. So we're going to check this whole thing too. But there's only one statement in this conglomerate, which is this one right here. So it's actually going to say A is 6 twice. So let's end the line. So you will see that in two separate lines. There we go, right? So each time there's another if statement, it's like a whole nother set of statements to check. So we could write another else if, blah, blah, blah. We could write another one, or we could make it an else. Like, oh, if it's not that, blah, blah, blah. Now let's say you didn't have an else. You just had if and else if, and it didn't meet either of them. Well, then it'll just continue, all right? It didn't meet this, it didn't meet this, so then the program will look farther and see the rest of your code and just do that from there. That's how it looks without an else. So like I said, else is just like oh, you didn't meet any of the previous requirements, therefore you're going to do what I put, or what I say. Okay? And lastly, we're going to talk about why am I doing this so slow? A switch statement. Switch is very similar to an if-else statement, but you'll see if I can spell switch A. Case let's do 5. Cout A is 5. Case 6. Cout A is 6. Okay, so we'll run this and then we'll see what happens. Alright, so A is equal to 6. This is saying this whole thing right here with the brackets. This is where it starts, and this is where it ends. It's saying check for A. In the case where A is 5, we're going to run this. But in the case where A is 6, we're going to run this. Okay, so it's kind of checking for the value of A, and it's doing whichever case is associated with that value. Now let's say A is equal to 5. What it's going to do actually, it's going to run this one and then run this one. And I'll tell you why after we, oh, there we go. After we get out of here. After we run it. Alright, see, it ran both. It said A is 5 and A is 6. So what you got to do, if you only want one of these to run at a time, you got to write break after each statement. So A is 5, it sees, oh, that's this case right here, because this one has 5. And then it'll do this statement, and then it sees break, and it'll break out from whatever's in this brackets. It'll just continue on after. So if we had stuff like right here, it would just continue there. If we didn't have those breaks, like we just saw, it'll just keep going down the cases until the very end. So yeah, the proper syntax is case value, and then a colon, and then it's indented after that. CodeBlocks already automatically does that for you, and it'll just put whatever. You can have multiple statements, you can put blah, 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 and it'll run all of these until the next case, or if it says break. Okay? So that is a switch statement, and now you know both if-else statements and switch statements. So go ahead and practice that if you're following along, and get used to it, get used to the syntax, get used to how it looks, get used to how it works. Really, that's the most important thing. And I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.